Hey TPT sellers, so putting keywords in your TPT product titles is probably the most important thing you can do for TPT SEO. But the question now is, what kind of punctuation should you use if you want to rank higher? Is there a difference between using a comma or that vertical line pipe symbol? Which is better? If I put keyword, comma, next keyword, or keyword, pipe symbol, keyword. Is there a difference? Well, sure. If you use a comma and a space, that takes up 2 characters. If you use a space and then the pipe symbol and then a space, that takes up 3 characters. We only get to have 80 characters in the title, but is there an advantage to using one symbol over the other symbol from a TPT SEO perspective? So I looked into the manual, and in this episode, I'm going to talk about how from a TPT SEO keyword ranking algorithm perspective, no, it doesn't matter if you use a comma or a pipe, despite what you may have heard in TPT land. Does it matter with Google SEO if you use the pipe symbol? And the answer again is no. From a technical perspective, no, it doesn't impact ranking. Does that mean it doesn't matter at all? And the answer is, well, it does matter from a sales psychology perspective. So in this video, I'm going to spend some time talking about the TPT search algorithm manual. We're going to look to see what people are saying in Google SEO land. And finally, I'm going to end with some TPT SEO tips and tricks based on today's lesson. Now, some of you might be saying, oh yeah, the comma or the pipe used to matter before, but now it doesn't matter. And that might be true. If you watch the episode up there, you know from one of my early TPT Sunday SEO videos that TPT now uses Algolia search. They've been using it since 2019, so the past 5 years. And so the information that I talk about today is relevant for the last 5 years. Between 2012 to 2019, TPT used a search program called Sphinx. I don't know much about Sphinx, but I'm going to also guess that the way punctuation was handled is similar to how it was handled by Algolia. When TPT first started, they used a search program called MySQL. I know from using MySQL that the way that we treat punctuation is the same way that I'm going to be talking about it today with Algolia. And that is we normalize the data before we do searches so that punctuation doesn't cause problems. My name is Mike Fuchigami. I'm the host of the SEO Tpreneur YouTube community. This video is for TPT hamsters and TPT hawks. If you don't know what I mean by those terms, check out the video at the top. We're going to be diving into some technical things. If you're an egg or a tadpole, you're at the stage of the game where you're just learning how to put content on the platform. And the major milestone when you're a tadpole is realizing that the product covers and the product descriptions, they matter. So let's dive into the manual. What I do on Sundays is I look at a TPT SEO question from the perspective of the manual. Check out this video. It summarizes everything I've learned in the past couple of months about TPT SEO. This image is from the Algolia YouTube video talking about their tie-breaking rule algorithm. And what we're going to talk about today was first mentioned in episode number 5, where we talked about proximity. So check out the video up there about proximity. But essentially, we know from the manual that every word in the title or the product description, those fields are chopped up into words, and each word is assigned a position. We know from the Algolia developer manual, when they index a document, so when they take a TPT product and they index it into their search database, it says here, we assign an integer position to each occurrence of each word. For example, the string fast and furious would be indexed as fast at position 0 and at position 1, furious at position 2. Now, this is a blog post, and it's not completely accurate because I see capitals in the way that they've described it. Fast and furious in this blog post have capitals, but in the actual index, it would be lowercase. How do I know this? Algolia has a developer manual page about handling natural languages. It explains how the TPT search engine normalizes data. So it makes it consistent so it's easy to search for words. And this is how I know that capitals and punctuation don't matter in TPT search. The engine performs normalization during indexing. So when you publish your resource or when you save your TPT product, that updates the index. So it normalizes during indexing and at query time. Query time is when a teacher types in a search term into the TPT search. And they do this normalization both when you save the product page and when the teacher makes a search. because they want to ensure consistency in how the data is represented and matched. TPT cannot turn off normalization, but they can turn it off for specific characters. So what does normalization mean? If we only think about your product title, it turns all of the characters in your product title into lowercase. And when someone is searching on TPT, even though there might be capitals in the way that they search, the TPT search engine turns the search term into all lowercase as well. Because if there's an uppercase letter and a lowercase letter, they don't match, even though you and I know that they're the same thing. The second thing the TPT search engine does to normalize the data is it removes any special characters. So if you have accents, like you have E accent aigu, it'll turn that into just a regular E. And that's to make the search consistent. TPT could turn on this setting called keep diacritics on characters. So those are the little accents or the little squiggly lines. I haven't explored this, but for those of us who are creating content for Spanish or French language students, if you type in the search phrase with the accent, just look to see what gets highlighted on TPT, and that'll let you know if it gets converted into the regular form without the accent. I think from a sales psychology perspective, you would probably want to have the word with the accent in your product title, because when you search for the word without the accent, it should still pull up your result with the accent. And people who speak the language will expect the word to be spelled correctly with the accent. So I think that might help build your brand and your trust. The third step in normalization is when we save our products, it looks at the product title and it removes all the punctuation from words. So it gets rid of apostrophes. It also gets rid of punctuation between words. It just gets rid of them completely. It doesn't pay attention to them because it's only interested in indexing the words. And it knows what a word is because it looks for all the alphabet characters and the numeric characters. And the moment it hits a different character called a separator, it says, oh, this is a space, or this is an exclamation mark, or this is some other punctuation mark. This is the end of the word. So that's how it knows where the word begins and where the word ends, because usually there's a space, or there's a dash or a colon or some kind of punctuation. Now, TPT could choose to index the comma or the pipe symbol, but I don't think it does. If I type the letter A and search for the letter A, it highlights the letter A in the result. So I know the search algorithm was thinking about this letter. But if I search for no character, so a completely blank search, it says all resources. Okay, interesting. What if I search for the pipe symbol, which is this character here, and I hit the search button? It says it's showing search results for that character, but it's not highlighting the pipe symbol. And that's because the pipe symbol isn't stored in the index. TPT Search uses this process called tokenization, where they split your product title into tokens. So they give an example of the string hello, comma, world, exclamation point. So this could be our product title. And it says there are 4 tokens. The first one is hello, and it has non-separator characters. The next token is the comma with a space, and those are separator characters. The third token is world, and those are non-separator characters. And finally, the last token is the exclamation mark, which is the separator. And it says here only non-separator characters are indexed. And remember, separator characters are punctuation, spaces, pipes, commas, stuff like that. So only non-separator characters are indexed and thus searchable by default. In the example above, only the words hello and world are indexed. So it doesn't matter if someone searches for hello, comma, world, exclamation part, or hello, world, lowercase, it'll pull up the same results. Here's an example from episode number 5, where we talked about proximity, and we learned that only the first 1,000 words matter. So it says here, we use a single value to store the position of each word in the text and which attribute it came from. Attributes are things like title or product description. We keep the position of the first 1,000 words. So in the title, you won't have 1,000 words, but in your product description, you might have a very long product description, but only the first 1,000 words are considered by the search algorithm. At the bottom of the screen, I can see the product title, first day of school activities, pipe, math, pipe symbol, back to basics. The way this would look in the TPT database is position 0 is the word first. Position 1 has the word day. Position 2 has the word of. Position 3, school. Position 4 has the word activities. Position 5 has the word math. Position 6 has the word back. Position 7 has the word to. Position 8 has the word basics. And these are all lowercase, and there's no punctuation at all. So from the search algorithm's perspective, in the TPT product title, only the words matter. Punctuation is completely removed by the search algorithm, so it can have 0 impact on ranking. Having said that, as TPT sellers, we have to make a choice about how we use the 80 characters in the product title. If we use the pipe symbol, that's going to take up 3 characters because you need a space character, the pipe symbol, and then a space. If you use commas to separate your keywords, that only takes up 2 characters. So then you have comma and then a trailing space. So 2 characters. Some people don't use any punctuation at all, and they just have a very long title with spaces. And so then technically that would be the most efficient option because you're not using any characters up with commas or pipe symbols. But let's look at a real world example. If I go to TPT and I search for no keyword, which means I get to see how the products are ordered in the TPT database, because all of these products are relevant to no keyword search. I chose to look at this second example, which uses commas to separate the keywords. So it says site words, comma, site word practice, comma, kindergarten worksheets, comma, activities, comma, books, space, and then SOR for science of reading. So if I put that on one line and I highlight the characters, the comma and the space, and if I count up all the characters, because the space counts as a character, then there are 80 characters in this title. If instead of using a comma, this person decided to use the pipe symbol, then it means instead of comma space, they would have space, pipe symbol, space. That takes up 3 characters instead of 2 characters. And all of a sudden, this title is longer. It would need 84 characters. TPT only allows 80 characters. So this person would have to get rid of SOR, would have to get rid of science of reading at the end. So then by using the pipe symbol, they have fewer letters to use keywords, which might affect where they rank for those keywords, and that ultimately impacts traffic. On the other hand, if they go in the other direction and instead of using commas, they just use spaces to separate keywords, well then in this case, the title would only use 76 characters. But the downside is it's harder to read. So although using a comma or using a pipe symbol or just using a space might not impact the rank from a search algorithm perspective, it definitely makes a difference in terms of which title is easier to read. If your title is easier to read, if you're communicating the value of your resource, then it's easier to stop someone from scrolling down past your resource and having a closer look at that. And if your title communicates value because it's easier to read, then you hopefully will get more clicks. And this is what I mean by sales psychology. It's not just TPT SEO where you have the ranking formula, the TPT search engine, where it's trying to figure out if your product is relevant based on the keywords, and then it uses business metrics to figure out if you should go higher. After all that's considered, then it looks to see how attractive your resource is based on clicks after a search term, or probably looking at the preview or adding to wish list or adding to cart. Those are conversion events that tell the search algorithm, hey, this is an attractive product. And then there's this dynamic re-ranking where you might get a higher position than you deserve just purely on SEO because teachers are clicking your product after they search for that search term. If you haven't watched that SEO masterclass, go check it out because I explained the dynamic re-ranking factor more in depth. Have you learned something new? If you have, please like the video. It encourages me to make more content like this to help everyone out. A few TPT sellers have told me that maybe the pipe symbol or the commas, maybe that makes a difference for Google SEO, and that's why you should use it. So I tried to look that up. I found a case study on the SEMrush blog. In this case study, they changed the pipe symbol into the dash symbol. The dash symbol is the variant, the pipe symbol is the control, and if I just sort of switch back and forth, can you see how it changes just slightly? It moves the store name target back and forth slightly. And that's because the pipe symbol uses slightly fewer pixels than the dash symbol. And I'll talk more about that in a second. So in this SEMrush experiment, they had the control group, which is they had the pipe symbol between the product and the brand name. And in the variant that they were testing, so this is A/B testing, in the B version of this, they used a dash. And here are the results. The orange line is the variant group with the dashes, and the blue line is the control group with just the regular pipe symbol. What they found in this case study is they took a whole bunch of products, and in half of them they left it with the pipe symbol, and in the other half they had it with the dash symbol, and they found that overall the products with the dash symbol had more traffic. And this graph shows how much more additional clicks that test group had, and their research suggests that, well, yeah, they had significantly more traffic just by changing the pipe symbol to the dash symbol based on Google search traffic. They wrote, looking at the data, they saw an increase in clicks to the variant pages, and the variant pages have the dash instead of the pipe symbol. The click-through rate of the pages tested also increased dramatically, but here's the most important part. However, there was no significant change in impressions or rankings. So that means from the search algorithm perspective, having the dash or having the pipe symbol didn't increase or decrease the position of the search listing. And what this group found was they thought that the positive result of the test had to do with the personal preferences of the target group. Perhaps dashes improved the scan and readability of the page titles, and that maybe made the brand stand out a little bit more than the competitors, and people like the brand, and so then they click on those products. So in this case, dashes were better than pipes in the title, but not because of an SEO ranking factor, but because people were able to better read the words before and after. And because people like the brand, they clicked on the links more. I found another blog post by Search Engine Journal. This was a few years ago, but they were talking about a discussion on Twitter about whether it made a difference if you used the pipe symbol or the dash symbol. And this article found 3 different ways that the pipe or the dash symbol might make a difference. The first point was that on Google, the number of pixels you have in your title makes a difference. Pixels do not make a difference in TPT land, but they do in Google land. So on Google search, title elements are measured in pixels as well as in characters. That means if you replace the dashes with pipes, you can actually fit more characters into the title tag. And when they say title tag, we mean product title. So if we go back to the example from SEMrush, that pipe symbol is slightly thinner than the dash symbol. And if I just hover back and forth, you can see how it's moving back and forth by 1 pixel. So if you have a lot of dashes and you replace them all with pipes, that might make all the difference because you can see more of the title. The second idea was that pipes or dashes communicate meaning. And so in this case, the difference between a pipe symbol and the dash symbol, the pipe symbol might be used something like to separate the name of the company, like Acme Incorporated, whereas maybe a dash is used to separate an attribute, like the color of a t-shirt, blue. The third finding from analyzing the Twitter comments was people thought just do what looks best. One of the key findings here was that all of these people on Twitter, no one suggested that the dash or the pipe symbol made a difference in ranking. So from a Google SEO perspective, it doesn't matter if you use the dash or a hyphen or a comma or a pipe. That's not going to impact your rank on Google. Have you learned something new? If you have, can you please hit that subscribe button? YouTube lets me see which videos got the most new subscribers. And so that's another signal to me telling me that that's the kind of content that you want to see. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please subscribe. And if you've already subscribed, liking the video or leaving a comment lets me know, hey, I should make more stuff like this because it's useful for you. All right, let's summarize what we've talked about in today's video. The key TPT SEO takeaway is that punctuation like commas or dashes or pipes, punctuation does not impact the search algorithm. It gets completely removed from the search database. It does not impact the ranking. So as a TPT seller, the question is, how are we going to use the 80 characters that we have in our product titles? Because the more keywords that we can put in there, the more areas that we might show up. And so we have to make the decision between using a pipe symbol, which is space, pipe, space, or the comma symbol, which is comma, space. The pipe symbol might be easier to read, but the comma uses fewer characters, which means that we have more characters to use on a different keyword. The next TPT SEO takeaway is to do what looks best in the product title. Because if we make our product titles look great and it's easy to read the words, then we indirectly improve TPT SEO because our product titles communicate value to the teacher scrolling by. When we communicate value and we explain how a resource solves their problem, they're more likely to click on our product. When they click on our product, if we get 20 clicks in the last 30 days for a specific search term, then dynamic re-ranking can happen. Or if we get 2 conversion events, so they search for a term, they click on our page, and then they do a conversion event, which is likely looking at the preview, adding to wish list, or adding to cart, or purchasing the resource. Those are likely all conversion events in the algorithm. Then once you have 2 conversion events, the algorithm thinks that you are attractive to that search term, and then you start to re-rank higher. So by using punctuation to clearly communicate the keywords, you might get a boost in TPT SEO because people are clicking on your resource. But I think the overall idea that I'm trying to communicate with these videos is that we need to tinker. We might try different keywords, we might try different spellings, we might try different little experiments, and then we pay attention to results to see if it makes a difference. About 2 weeks ago, I recorded a video where I did some SEO optimization in one of my products. That was on Monday, September 16th. I can see from my log here, I removed back to school and I added SEL middle school. I tidied up the introduction and I explicitly asked people to check out the preview. Okay, well, how has this product done since Monday, September 16th? I can go to my dashboard. I want to see just that product. All right, so here's the resource. And the question is really, how has it done since the 16th? So I'm going to change the time period. I'm going to click September 16th to today, September 29th. And it's comparing against last year. So compared to last year, I've had 2 sales. So I've made $16 instead of $8. Okay. If I compare it with the previous period, so the previous 2 weeks, from September 16th to September 29th, I've made 2 sales, so $16. And the 2 weeks before September 15th, so September 2nd to September 15th, I made 1 sale. So maybe it's better. My numbers are too small to be able to say anything so far. Have the number of views changed? Well, the number of views I've had have gone down, but has that gone down because of the SEO, or has that gone down because it was back to school? And during back to school, it was just a more trending keyword. So at this point, it's too hard to say anything. Sometimes we do it and we want to optimize, but the numbers are too small to really know for sure. And even if the numbers were 100 times larger, well, 2 weeks before September 15th, back to school was a bigger thing. And now September 16th to September 29th, maybe that's not as big of a deal. What about conversion rate? So my conversion rate is slightly up. It's 3% since I made the changes compared to 2%. Is that because of changes I've made, or is that just variability in the time of the year? So TPT SEO seems like it could be scientific and very precise with numbers, but it's also an art. It's a science and an art of persuasion and ranking. And that's why I say we need to tinker. We need to do little experiments in our store. Most of these experiments probably won't work, but a few might. And if we pay attention to results and learn either way, then eventually we learn more about the platform that we're selling on, and that helps us to play the game. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below. If you found this video useful, please share it in the TPT forum or your Facebook groups. If you agree or you disagree, just because I look up in the manual doesn't mean I'm right, because TPT implements the manual in their specific way. I'm on the outside looking in. I'm only commenting on how I think the system might work. And your experiences with your store are just as valuable as my experience with the manual. So leave a comment, share the video, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye now.